The three men accidentally entered a strange staircase. At first glance, it seemed like an ordinary building, but after walking for half an hour, they realized the staircase had no end in sight. The police officer sensed something was wrong and instructed the two thieves to stay put while he, with a serious expression, ran downstairs. He tried to open the iron doors on each floor, but without exception, they were all locked. A sense of unease crept into his heart, so he quickened his pace. A few minutes later, he witnessed something terrifying. The two thieves, who were supposed to be waiting upstairs, were now somehow below him. His eyes widened, and his body tensed with fear. Without hesitation, he dashed back up the stairs to verify his chilling suspicion. After a while, the two thieves finally realized they should escape before the officer returned. But just then, they heard heavy breathing behind them. Slowly turning their heads, they saw the horrifying sight again. The officer, who had been climbing up, was now below them. But the officer refused to believe what was happening and decided to conduct another test. He pulled a set of keys from his pocket and nervously placed them in the gap between the stairs. The moment he let go, all three of them held their breath. Nothing unusual happened at first, and they finally began to relax. But the next second, the keys fell from above, the metallic clanging louder and more terrifying than a demon's whisper. By now, sweat had soaked their backs. At this point, the officer suddenly drew his gun, angrily demanding answers from the two, suspecting them of playing some kind of trick. After all, he had only chased the two thieves into this place. But in reality, the brothers had no idea what was happening either. This situation couldn't be explained by science, and it was clear that escaping scientifically wasn't going to work. Yet none of them realized this just yet. The younger thief was still trying to call for help, but there was no signal. He then tried to open the iron doors again, only to be disappointed. Worse still, his brother had been shot in the leg by the officer while trying to escape. Given their current situation, if they didn't figure something out soon, things would only get worse. In desperation, the younger brother shouted for help down the staircase, hoping for a miracle. But all three were trapped in a mysterious space, and no matter how much he screamed, no one would ever hear him. Luckily, there was a vending machine nearby, perhaps the only stroke of good fortune they had. Feeling guilty, the officer helped remove the bullet from the thief's leg and handed him a bottle of painkillers he had on him, assuring him that everything would be okay soon. But by the next day, things had only gotten worse. The thief's condition deteriorated instead of improving. When the younger brother untied the bandage, he discovered that the wound was bleeding even more because the bullet had been removed. Soon, the man couldn't hold on any longer and closed his eyes for the last time, unable even to say his final words. The younger brother cried out in agony, but little did they know, the most fortunate one was the thief who had just died. At that moment, the officer returned to the vending machine for food. But as he looked at the fresh bread in his hand, his face suddenly changed. He threw the bread to the ground in anger. The food that had previously been consumed was now fully restocked on the shelves. This was beyond terrifying. Did this mean they were trapped here forever, doomed to stay until the day they died? The officer spiraled into despair, venting all his anger on the vending machine, trying to break free from this nightmare space and return to his wife and daughter. But just then, the younger thief crept up behind him. Taking advantage of the officer's distraction, he slammed him against the wall and pulled out the officer's gun to kill him, seeking revenge for his brother. But instead of fear, the officer's lips curled into a subtle, meaningful smile.